Right. Hello and welcome to the Movie Power Rankings show. This is the second part of our 2014 Top Films of the Year of 2014. So the categories we're going to cover in this episode are the sequel, series, and remakes. That's one category. We have independents. We have documentaries. We have foreign and international films. And then we have our horror, cult, and other category. So let's start with the sequel, series, and remakes from 2014. Our top sequel, breaking tradition this year. Normally, I select the highest grossing film of the year as the top sequel. I kind of let America vote, but I've broken precedent because looking at the whole list, I found that this was the most quality sequel of the year. It may not have made the most money, but it is the one you should definitely check out. And that is The Raid 2, Gareth Evans directing a one hell of an action film.
2.5 hours long of non-stop action.
The first Raid, which appeared in our international and foreign category, the first time The Raid came out. The Raid 2 blows that one away. This is the Godfather 2 of the Asian action films. We may be starting to see a new wave of action films coming out of this part of the world.
Tell them the plot.
Yeah,
it's very easy. You can say it in a sentence, most likely. Yeah.
There's corruption, and what do you think?
They have to move up a building to get these.
Okay, that's the original, The Raid.
Okay, how would you describe the second?
The Raid 2 is more of it expands into the city. It expands its world, a lot more characters, and just the same level of action in the original The Raid is in The Raid 2, plus
right.
10 times 10.
Instead of moving up a building, you are moving out.
Right.
And again, the action is just breathtaking, and nobody falls asleep during The Raid 2.
Yes. Okay, so number 2, then we go back into the old way of ranking the sequels. I just go by box office alone. So the highest ranking sequel of 2014 was The Hunger Games: Mockingjay Part 1. Again, I've kind of stiffed the Hunger Games franchise in this category because the 2013 list included Iron Man 3, but that was eventually beaten in the box office by the Catching Fire Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Again, America goes out to see these movies.
Yeah. Again, it's got that YA disappointment factor, but people have responded to it. I mean, it's not like it's The Giver or any of these YA's the host. These ones that haven't made it. Again, it's the sort of like the jewel in the crown, since you have Twilight is done, and but I don't know. I like Catching Fire. This new one, I didn't do anything for me.
And then the Mockingjay Part 2 will be later in 2015, I believe, in November.
Which probably didn't need to be split, but again, it gives them an extra money stream.
Okay, number 3, a Marvel movie, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, the sequel to the first Captain America.
Wonderful. Absolutely terrific. I think almost better than the first one, and I love the first one. And again, for these Ohio people, a lot of Cleveland stuff. You notice Cleveland a lot more. The Russo brothers directing, who are Cleveland born. And amazing movie. Looked great. Came out, they released it a little early, and they didn't regret it. Made buckets of money for a good movie.
And the Russo brothers are rumored to be taking over the Avengers franchise after Joss Whedon directs the Age of Ultron, but I believe he's done after that, and they're going to hand it over to the Russo brothers.
So he'll find work.
Yeah. Well, he's got to oversee this whole Marvel universe. All right, number 4 is Transformers. I had a little accident this year, which has really limited my movie watching, and unfortunately, Transformers was one of the films that I caught this year, and
in the theater, in the IMAX, and it's like it was.
Yeah, it only added to my injuries. So
I was considering suing for possible mental damage, but I let that go.
So we'll say enough on Transformers.
It made a lot of money, and Michael Bay should be very happy and cash the check quickly.
And I believe they're doing another one.
Of course they are.
With Michael Bay and Mark Wahlberg, and it'll probably make a ton of money again. And,
yeah, well, fine.
5 is X-Men Days of Future Past. Bryan Singer comes back to direct in the X-Men franchise.
And does a beautiful job. Wonderful cast.
Yeah, great cast. A lot of time jumping. And
followed, you could follow the story. And again, it was good. It was very, very good. I mean, you've gotten away from the what was the lowest, probably, was it X-Men Last Stand or whatever?
Yeah, X-Men 3.
3,
Last Stand,
yeah.
Ratner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Appropriately named Ratner.
So, the X-Men, I think it's called Apocalypse, is going to be 2016. And then another thing about X-Men Days of Future Past, all of Anna Paquin's scenes were cut from the movie. So in 2015, you're going to be seeing a whole new version of X-Men Days of Future Past that includes these rogue scenes. So it's going to be a new DVD-only release for 2015.
Sort of hyping the interest before the other one comes out.
Okay, number 6, and this may move up depending on how much money it makes, The Hobbit, Battle of Five Armies.
Number 1 for 3 weeks over the holidays, latest 221 million US, let alone foreign. I think the first weekend in foreign, it made 121 million, so no, everyone hopes there's more Hobbiting in the future, but we'll see.
Yeah. Peter Jackson says he wants to move on to do some smaller things, more New Zealand-based films, but he may get that calling to come back.
Yeah, there's lots of other Tolkien material that he can sort of expand on without, upsetting people in the Tolkien universe. But I thought the whole Hobbit thing was very good. Maybe not as wonderful as Lord of the Rings, but still, I looked forward to them and saw them each multiple times and always had a great time. I mean, you're talking state-of-the-art special effects, wonderful casting, other than that goofy friend of, or toady of Stephen Fry, who I could have done without. But other than that, no issues there.
Moving on in the sequels category, after The Hobbit, we have Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, sequel to Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Matt Reeves comes in to direct and does a great job.
Andy Serkis, just a genius. I mean, how there isn't a special Oscar for him is just beyond me. He, from The Lord of the Rings to this, and even in The Hobbit, he's I think assistant directing or first director. Or I'm sure he's got some unusual credits on that, even though Gollum didn't make an appearance. But again, no, he's great. All the ape stuff is great, and I liked it better than that first one. I thought the people story wasn't with the one with James Franco in the first one. I didn't care for, but second one I liked better, and beautiful visuals, and we'll be seeing more of those apes.
Yes. All right, number 8, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Made some money, but I think Sony's a little worried about this. There's even some talk of allowing Spider-Man to go back to Marvel if they can somehow work out a money deal and a rights deal. I think that's probably going to be the best move for Sony to make, is let Marvel handle this character. Sony's had their chance, and
yeah, again, it makes millions of dollars, but again, it's not beloved by the fanboys or anyone else, and again, it's something that people go out to see, but it doesn't get those multiple viewings like a Guardians of the Galaxy or the Avengers does, that really takes you from a hit into the stratosphere, into a blockbuster, and they keep trying, and the fact that that first one they did a practical remake as opposed to a reboot. I mean, I don't know, they've botched it, so maybe we need something new.
And they've announced, several films to come out after this, including a Sinister Six film. And 2 more sequels to The Amazing Spider-Mans, and what fans are really calling for is to have Spider-Man show up in the Avengers, and that's what everyone wants.
There's money in the bank for you.
Yeah. All right, number 9, Godzilla, the remake reboots. Nicely done. Gareth Edwards directs from Monsters.
And who knew he would get that? And of course, did a lot of money, foreign and other, and again, special effects, good cast. I mean, story could have been stronger, but was Godzilla the story ever the point? I mean, it was always, you wanted the battles and.
Yeah, you get they pay off on the destruction, and we'll be getting a sequel to that. I think a few years out though. And 10 is 22 Jump Street, the sequel to 21 Jump Street. Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill are back, and again, a pretty successful comedy sequel here, and
written by those same guys that did the Lego movie.
Right. And will we be seeing a 23 Jump Street? I
think so. I would think so.
Yeah. We've got 32 sequels, series or remakes from 2014. So go to the website moviepowerrankings.com and check them all out. We're going to move on to our 7th category, which is the independent art house category. Let's talk about the number 1 film in that category, Birdman. Michael Keaton's a shoe-in, or not a shoe-in, but a lock for a nomination.
Yeah, probably a win there. I mean, he's well-liked and, never been nominated. And again, a very unusual movie that I was a little concerned wouldn't find an audience, but it has. Again, and I've talked to many people, and they really liked it. It is an unusual piece. Beautifully done, beautifully cast. I mean, and it's every bit as good as Michael Keaton is Edward Norton. And again, he's probably bound to be nominated there too. And Emma Stone is great as the daughter. And again, it's an oddball piece, but again, the audience found it.
Yep. Director Alejandro Gonzalez Inarritu, he's kind of taking a lighter tone with Birdman, where his previous films like Babel and 21 Grams and the great Amoros Perros kind of had a more serious tone. So he even said he wanted to kind of lighten things up with Birdman.
Again, I wouldn't exactly call it light. Let's say it has light moments, but again, overall, I would say it's a pretty dark film. But again, there's lots of comedy elements, light things, and again, it's oddly takes place, with no edits. Of course, there were edits, but again, you have it where you're imagining the camera is consistently following these people, and even when a day goes by, it's like the camera doesn't move, and you have night go to day, and like I said, it's there's a shot that's in a liquor store that you almost think, well, I think it's Emmanuel Lubitsky. You look at that and you go, my God, that's the kind of shot that wins Oscars, and he won for Gravity, and you look at that shot and it just takes your breath away. It's you have to see it. There's no describing it. You just need to see it. It's not just for that scene. The movie I thought was terrific, but again, that one scene you say, that didn't get set up in a half hour to set up the way they lit that shot.
I think the cinematography Oscars a lock for Lubitsky there.
Yeah, in addition to having that going nonstop without an edit, appearing without an edit.
Yes. Okay, 2 in the independent category is The Theory of Everything, the Stephen Hawking biopic with Eddie Redmayne. Again, another actor who's probably a lock for nomination. Yeah. It's just a competitive year, and so it's...
Yeah, and he is amazing as Stephen Hawking. And the movie's very good, very conventional. Well, it's not conventional, but again, a biography that is you wouldn't think that people would go to a Stephen Hawking, but the reviews were such, and he was great. And as is Felicity Jones as the wife, she's wonderful. And again, it's an amazing movie, a true story, and I guess Stephen Hawking has said he approved. So, Go figure.
Okay, 3 in the art house independent category is Whiplash. The Miles Teller stars. J.K. Simmons, again, is going to be a lock for a supporting actor nomination. Kind of about a very intense drumming instructor who pushes his student to the limits.
Yes, again, a familiar type of movie from whether it's Full Metal Jacket and Officer and a Gentleman. But again, you just can't imagine that you have this movie that's basically about drumming, but it's fascinating from beginning to end. And something we didn't even mention about Birdman is that the score is all drumming. That is the musical score in Birdman, is drums. And of course, then you have Whiplash, which the musical is basically drums because it's about drumming. But again, a wonderful, and Miles Teller, excellent. The reviews have all gone to J.K. Simmons, but again, it wouldn't work unless Miles Teller was every bit as good.
Okay, number 4 is a movie I'd kind of like to highlight from earlier in the year, Under the Skin. Jonathan Glazer directs. Scarlett Johansson stars in this. A kind of a bizarre film. even a science fiction film. This could have ended up in the genre category. And it's kind of been brought back at the end of the year on some top 10 lists and other awards. And
because there was a real divide on that. Either you liked it or you really didn't like it.
yes.
And again, didn't get a big release, but again, the people that liked it really liked it. And I know you really liked it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I recommend it. Okay, number 5 is Dear White People. Kind of getting some attention just because of the title alone, but again, this is a movie that's appearing on some top 10 lists, and I don't think we'll see it in the Academy Awards, but again, we're talking about art house and independent movies here, and this has been one of the more successful and talked about independents this year.
And that'll probably do very good on demand and in different, whether DVD, Blu-ray, or stuff. I mean, it's the sort of thing that, might have a long afterlife.
Okay, moving quickly through the rest of these. Love is Strange is kind of a movie about two gay men who kind of come out later on in their lives. John Lithgow and Alfred Molina, I believe, star in this.
And very good, very well acted. Sort of sad, but again, beautifully done. Sort of atypical love story, but well done.
7 is Rosewater, Jon Stewart's directorial debut.
Didn't make a dime, but a good movie nonetheless.
Yes. And that's why it's in the top 10. It's we want to highlight those good movies.
You might be able to find out on demand, or it's definitely worth seeing.
8 is Pride. I believe it got a Golden Globe nomination. It's from the UK, smaller film, but again, it's been getting some decent reviews.
Based on a true story of a group of harassed gays in London who come to the rescue or to help the miners who are on strike in Margaret Thatcher's London, and just a story that who knew? And again, that it's based on fact is amazing. Beautiful cast, beautifully done, and one of those really an audience pleaser type movie. You think of something like whether it's Full Monty or Billy Elliot, along those lines. And again, I think people will find that later on down the road, and it will be, it's not just for, audiences that are looking for a gay film or whatever. It's the kind of movie that is going to appeal to people simply because it's a fascinating true story that most people haven't heard. I compared it also to Pirate Radio. It's like when I saw Pirate Radio, which I thought was a terrific movie, it's like, where was that story? I never heard that before. And Pride is the same thing.
Right. Moving on, 9 is Calvary, John Michael McDonough. Smaller film starring Brendan Gleeson and Don Cheadle, I believe. And I think this is the same director as In Bruges and 7 Psychopaths.
Possibly. I'm not sure. But again, I unfortunately missed it. I wanted to see it. And the people I know that have seen it have said it's wonderful. And I think he just won a British Independent Spirit Award of Brendan Gleeson, of course, is a wonderful actor. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it sounded fascinating, and I missed it, and I'm sorry I did.
And rounding out the top 10 in independent is the Skeleton Twins, released a few months ago, like in the fall of 2014. Got some good reviews when it came out. So again, it's kind of one we kind of like to highlight.
Bill Hader and Kristen Wiig, and I liked it. I thought it had a weak end, but in general, the two of them were wonderful, and it had a good story. I mean, I'm just sorry they didn't end it a little better. But again, I liked it.
Okay, 65 total independents.
Wow.
And I try to keep it trimmed down. I'm very selective on these. So if you like your independents, you have a lot of films to watch from 2014.
Yeah, check the list.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to the documentary category. And in the documentary category, number 1, we have Life Itself, Steve James's documentary on Roger Ebert's life, and you just saw this the other night on CNN.
Right, and again, beautifully done. The same director that did
Hoop Dreams,
and again, one of Roger Ebert's and Gene Siskel's favorite movies. And again, it's, like I said, beautifully done, intensely sad. I mean, with Ebert's medical issues, and then you get to the point where, like you and I talked, we watched Siskel and Ebert, and we sort of, people always thought, well, it's sort of an act between the two of them as far as their bantering back and forth. Well, when you watch the documentary, you see it wasn't so much of an act, but again, definitely worth seeing, not only for people, people who love movies like we do, But again, just to see someone who went through just horrendous medical issues, and he kept a better attitude than, as I said, I probably would have. And it's like, it's not an easy movie to watch, but I think it's a terrific movie.
Okay, and a close second was Citizen 4, the Edward Snowden documentary. And I believe you saw this as well.
And I liked it, beautifully put together. I think some of the scenes went on a little too long in the hotel room where he was describing exactly how he was doing these things, but still, amazing access to Edward Snowden and, really explaining the situation, possibly in too much detail, but still a very good documentary.
Okay, 3 is Tim's Vermeer, directed by Teller from Penn and Teller.
And you saw that?
I did see that. A very insightful movie into the process of an artist and kind of doing some detective work on discovering how Vermeer may have created these paintings that he did. And a very interesting movie. Short, but very informative. I would recommend it. And then number 4, Jodorowsky's Dune. We watched.
We saw that, yeah.
About the, it's a documentary about the attempt at making a movie from Frank Herbert's Dune. David Lynch eventually goes on to make Dune, but
yeah, less said the better. But yeah, I mean, just you see what he had to do, and you kind of, when you watch it, you know that just wasn't going to happen. But it's a shame. You would like to think that somewhere in some alternative universe that would have been a movie. Yes. But again, and it would have been quite a movie. Now, I'd seen El Topo, and I think what's the other one? Is White Mountain, or is it Magic Mountain? I think maybe it is Magic Mountain. I'm not sure. His other movie. But again, he was not what I would call my favorite director. He was a little off the charts. But again, when you see him interviewed and you see what he had in mind, I mean, it was a fascinating movie that's not meant to be seen, but still a terrific documentary.
Okay, and there's 34 documentaries in 2014 that I have in the list, so go to Movie Power Rankings and check them out. Again, there's always a random one or obscure one that is nominated for an Academy Award.
Right, and a lot of them are fortunately available on Netflix, and like The Life Itself was on CNN. Sadly cut, but on CNN nonetheless.
Okay, moving on to our 9th category is the international foreign language films. And number 1 in that is Ida from Paweł Pawlowski from Poland. And a very harsh movie in some ways, but just close to a masterpiece.
Incredibly powerful. Yeah. Black and white. Shot in, I believe it was the 1.33 aspect ratio, and I mean, you tell somebody what it's about a novice, she's going to become a nun, and she finds out she's Jewish, and she goes on a little hunt for relatives, and the less said the better. I mean, it's a movie who's got many interesting surprises, many twists you don't see coming, and again, just fascinating from beginning to end. Just don't let the setup to it keep you away from a terrific movie.
Yeah, highly recommend Ida. I think it's streaming on Netflix now, so you can check that out there. Number 2 is a movie that's kind of getting some buzz, Force Majeure.
Heard it was excellent. Sorry I missed it. I'm going to have to catch it on demand, but I heard it was terrific.
Yeah, the setup's kind of like an avalanche is going to hit this winter cabin, and the dynamics that arise from that, especially with how certain characters react to impending disaster.
Right. And the thing is, I've heard it described sort of as a comedy, and, I don't know, not having seen it, but I can't wait to see it. It's supposed to be good.
And then number 3 is 2 Days, One Night, the new one from the Dardennes. That just came out December 2014. I think we could see a foreign language nomination for this. Marion Cotillard could be nominated.
Her reviews were great, as were the movie. Again, they're pretty much critic darlings, but they've never really had, even their art house successes have been very minor, more film festival successes than box office successes. But, I think they must do fairly well in France and whatever. And like I said, this may be something that'll be a crossover hit that'll give them some recognition in the United States. But it sounds fascinating about a woman who tries to go to her co-workers to get them to give up their bonuses so she will keep her job. Sort of something that will hit home for a lot of people.
And okay, number 4 in the international category is Leviathan, a film from Russia. We talked about it on our December preview show. Kind of like a marital drama, and again, we haven't seen that yet.
No,
the reviews alone have put that up at the top here.
Right, and probably giving it a large push for the Oscar nomination from Russia, even though I assume I've heard that Russia isn't very happy with it, but they have made it their choice to go into the Oscar pool. So probably going to be nominated because you have something they've chosen, but they're not. The Russian government is not particularly happy with. So we'll see.
So 32 international films in all in the category this for 2014. So go to the site and check it out. Our final category is the horror, cult, experimental, other category.
Well,
when a film does not fit into a category, that's where it goes. So again, you're going to get a lot more horror here, but number 1 this year, The Babadook from Australia.
I shake thinking of it because it was a good one.
Yes, definitely worth seeing. First-time director Jennifer Kent. Looking forward to see what she does next, and just a very good horror setup and execution.
You don't have to have extreme amount of violence to scare your audience. I mean, as we talked about in the previous show, William Friedkin said it was the scariest movie he ever saw, and making The Exorcist, he would probably know. And again, it was terrifying. I mean, and like I said, it doesn't have to be bloody, but you don't know where to particularly look for your next scare, and it made a good movie.
Very well done.
Yes, on a very low budget, but it made no difference whatsoever.
And there's really only one other to talk about from the horror films this year because it was not a great year. I know you didn't see it, but number 2, I have Oculus, released earlier in 2014. I believe it was an April release. Terrifying film.
Did it make? I don't remember. Did it make some money on that or not?
I got $27 million. Plus.
Oh well, yeah. I'm sure that didn't cost much.
I think we'll be seeing an Oculus 2. The cast is great. It is just a creepy, spooky movie, and you wouldn't think you would get a movie like that about a cursed mirror. But it has the ability to kind of alter how you are perceiving things, and I just highly recommend it. It's definitely one of the best horror films from 2014.
Reminding me slightly of a movie we talked about, the 1940s Dead of Night, which one of the stories is about a mirror that reflects things that just aren't exactly what you expected to. Great movie. You have a good chance to see that.
Okay, 22 films total in the horror, cult, experimental category. Go to the website, moviepowerrankings.com, to check it out. So that is going to conclude our part 2 of our top 10 films of 2014. If you haven't checked it out already, go check out part 1 on YouTube. And, of course, you can always see all the movies in their order on moviepowerrankings.com. You can follow us on Twitter at MPRankings, and we're also on Facebook, moviepowerrankings.com. Mike, thanks for being here and reviewing all of these 2014 films.
Thank you. I always have a good time.
And we may just do a show that does a preview of all the 2015 movies.
And what a year we hope it's going to be.
Yes. So thanks for watching.